And while Stephen A is the only person at that company who has told me on the phone after a conflict with that company, hey, Dan, you can't go against the company, I would say that Stephen A's present power is such that he could absolutely buck the people involved. And if Adam Silver calls him, I'd say he's got a responsibility to report that. ESPN is a good corporate partner. Stephen A is a good corporate partner. But we disagree on what's good and bad for business here, and we disagree on what it is Adam Silver should do, because you think this is bad for the game, and you're not actually wrong, but it's good for their television partner. It's great for their television partner. In fact,
Dan Batard reacts to Stephen A. Smith versus LeBron James. Check out what he had to say, and then I'll come back with my comments.
Dan, I don't see this happen in any other sport where, like, yeah, there's always going to be the curmudgeons, the old guys, like, man, these young guys didn't do it like us. Yeah, there are going to be young guys who are like, oh man, I wish I could pitch to Babe Ruth. I'd strike him out in 2 pitches or whatever, right? Like, there's always going to be those, but you don't hear it at the pinnacle. At the pinnacle, we don't do that. And again, this is tied into every conversation we've had about, oh, the NBA ratings, NBA PR, whatever. Like, man, at some point, the commissioner's office, you can't control everybody. You can't control Gil's Arena. You can't control Oddball. You can't control those fringe places.
You can't control Stephen A. Smith.
Yes,
either.
you can. Yes, you can.
No, I don't think Adam Silver and the NBA, they can control Stephen A. Smith when it comes to this situation. Now, someone having a back and forth with LeBron, your most known player right now, possibly in NBA history next to Jordan. Unless Stephen A. Smith is talking about the NBA in a negative way, maybe they'll step in because they got a lot of money with ESPN, NBA Countdown, you name it, all the programming built around the NBA. Yeah, of course, Adam Silver will probably pull up on Stephen A. and probably address him. But anything going on with the Bronny situation, Stephen versus LeBron, I don't really think he's going to try to silence it unless it spills over into the game of basketball and makes it look a certain way. Even though Bronny being drafted into the NBA this way may make the NBA look a certain way, but that kind of got brushed over and people kind of forgot about it. But Adam Silver, he's not going to be able to silence Stephen A. Smith.
Because that network broadcasts your stuff. I can't call in everybody. I can call in everyone from ESPN doing their NBA stuff. I can call in the best player in the game. I could call in Steph. I could call in LeBron.
Not
he
for
can.
this.
You know how I know he can, Dan? Because David Stern did that all the time.
Yes, but it's a different age, and the two people. No,
is it still money? Is it still money?
It is
it's more
still
money,
but I will tell
more.
you, having run into these clashes at ESPN with Rob Manfred, who was trying to control what I was saying, that ESPN could not do that to me. And while Stephen A. is the only person at that company who has told me on the phone after a conflict with that company, hey, Dan, you can't go against the company, I would say that Stephen A.'s present power is such that he could absolutely buck the people involved. And if Adam Silver calls him, I'd say he's got a responsibility to report that.
Yeah, we're in a different day and age. Maybe David Stern, he may intervene, but where the NBA is at now, so much money involved, so many of these media figures at an all-time high as far as notoriety, money being made. You got the LeBron factor. It's not like I used to be 20 or 30 years ago. So again, maybe if Stephen A. Smith was dirtying up the game, talking about the NBA is this and that, maybe to some capacity, Adam would step in, but he's going to stay out of this. And as far as ESPN, yeah, Stephen A. Smith, he could buck the system just because of all the viewership he brings in, the money. So they're going to kind of fall in line unless it gets to a point where they have to step in. Unless Stephen A. Smith do something crazy out there, they're just going to milk this situation with Bron, get ratings for First Take. I think ESPN main thing is, yeah, you can address it on your own platforms, but make sure you save some of that for First Take. We need those views and we need that money. I think that's the only way that ESPN steps in and just make sure they get the equal amount of content as well.
He's got a responsibility to tell people that Adam Silver has called him and tried to mute the conflict as a journalist.
I'm curious. By the way, let it be out. Let it be out. Who cares? Like, yes, yeah, I said it. I told him this is shameful. I told LeBron, this is shameful. Yeah, if I'm Adam Silver, I called them. That's my job. That's my job. I'm curious.
know
Maybe
if
we
this
can call
is
Skipper and ask
shameful.
him. I wonder what kind of language is in the broadcast deal. Because it's not just, here's money, you guys do our stuff. Have at it. Say whatever the hell you want.
Stephen A.
There's language in there where it's like, hey man, you want us to take you to court on this?
ESPN is a good corporate partner. Stephen A. is a good corporate partner. But we disagree on what's good and bad for business here, and we disagree on what it is Adam Silver should do, because you think this is bad for the game, and you're not actually wrong, but it's good for their television partner. It's great for their television partner. In fact, I'm going to say that LeBron James went to McAfee. Like, that's Indiana. LeBron James doesn't do that. LeBron James
Played the Pacers.
He played the Pacers.
I know, but I'm saying LeBron James doesn't get into a car and go somewhere into a warehouse away from where it is that the arena is in order to do an interview for an hour, unless you're trying to please a corporate partner. That's not doing a favor for
corporate partner.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Let me go on the Pat McAfee podcast. Let me air out Stephen A. Stephen A. and Pat been having their beef behind the scenes, so it ended up working out great for ESPN. In return, works out great for the NBA, where your product is being placed on the network. So it all worked out for all parties. Yeah, it may look a certain way in the media, but major corporations, they're going to find a way to eat off this.
Dan, you're so naive sometimes, man. Yo, you think he went there because he's like, I need to do a solid for ESPN. Do you think he did that, or did he do?
Like that.
I want to take a shot at at Stephen A. on his ground, right? He went to McAfee's show. Remember the same show that when he was like, "F this Adrian Wojnarowski guy. What am I going to do? I'm going to be Shams Charania, who doesn't work here, every week." Right? It's not an accident. It's not an accident. Like, Pat McAfee is the space that if you want to take a shot at someone at ESPN, this is the safe space on ESPN's airwaves where they're going to let you say whatever you want. So
that makes sense as far as what Amin is saying, but the way that LeBron was doing it, well, the way I think he was doing it, it was just a petty shot. Let me go on your ops platform, diss you on your own network, throw shots at you. I think that's what LeBron was thinking. I don't think it was like, you know what, let's work together. We can tear down the network. I can air out people. ESPN, they'll step in if it becomes that type of beef. But LeBron going on Pat McAfee, I don't think it was that crazy. It was just more of a petty move by LeBron.
because people ask me, man, LeBron, why didn't he go to Gil's Arena? Gil's his guy. He trained his son. Why didn't he go there to say those things? Why didn't he go to All the Smoke? Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, those guys, they got a great relationship. Why didn't he go to Uninterrupted? Why didn't he go to Knuckleheads with Q Rich? And
Shannon Sharp.
Why didn't he go Shannon Sharp? Why did he go to the white
glazer
guy, Pat McAfee? And I said, guys, it's not about white or black. It's not about who's his boy, who's his not. He wanted to do the nuclear strike from inside the building, not from miles and miles away.
Again, it makes sense, but I don't think it was more of an attack on ESPN. It was just more of an attack on Stephen A. I need to make a huge impact. I need to do an interview. I could do it on my platform and get a couple 100,000 of views, or I can go on Pat McAfee, get millions of views, and a lot of people are going to see it. A lot of reaction channels going to speak on this type of content. So it was more about the impact for LeBron as opposed to going on Club Shay Shay, going on this platform. I'm going to be petty, go on your ops platform, and diss you on there. I think that's where LeBron was coming from.
I recognize that. I like doing that.
So that's why he went there, right? And I know they'll say, oh, Amin doesn't know what he's talking about. But, man, like some of these things are pretty obvious.
You say it's obvious and you say that I'm naive, but what I did assume, because that's what happened when we got LeBron in that time slot, is they give you, like there is the 10-1, they give you some things to play with so that you could create a bigger entity that becomes the thing after First Take that you need it to be. Like, you cannot say that that is not all good for ESPN, all of it.
It's good for ESPN in the short term, right? Other than whatever internal politics now that they have to traverse based on however Stephen A. might feel about friendly fire and all those things, right? But it's not good if your corporate partner, whose rights you like are making money off of, comes to you and says, what the F? What are you guys doing? That's when it ceases to be good. In the same way that everything is great as long as nobody complains about it, right? Sure. Oh yeah, no, I cheat on my wife all the time. How does she feel about it? Well, she doesn't know, but she's fine. But then when she finds out, you're like, oh man, that was a bad move. Yeah, of course it was a bad move. So that's the thing. It's like that. It's incumbent on Adam Silver to be the spouse who does not allow tomfoolery in the house.
Again, that makes sense if Stephen A. Smith is just bashing the NBA, talking about the product. But if you got an isolated situation, just Stephen A. versus LeBron, and throw Bronny in the mix, that's not making the NBA look a certain way. So again, I don't see Adam Silver stepping in. It only becomes a problem unless Stephen A. is bashing the product and there's billions in play having that product on ESPN. That's the only way Adam steps in. But as long as it stays within Stephen A. versus LeBron, ESPN, they're going to milk this all day. And if you're Adam Silver, step aside, pay attention from afar. And then when you have the Lakers facing this team, NBA Countdown, just think about how much views that's going to bring in, more eyes and ears. So you got to know the money factor, the business portion of it. What Amin is saying is commendable. Yeah, this could affect the game. This could affect basketball, but not really. As long as it makes money, it makes sense when it comes to ESPN and the NBA. So this is great for them.